Joe, obviously a massive effort from everybody today, but just falling short. What's the feeling like amongst the players? I guess everybody's absolutely gutted.
Yeah, everyone's hugely disappointed, but you find yourself in a situation like today, and you learn a lot about your team, a lot about the guys that are around you, and I thought everyone showed a lot of courage, a lot of resilience, a lot of character, and everyone should be really proud of how we approached today. I think we'll look back at other points in the game and think, maybe we could have been better. And most importantly, we've got to look forward at the next Test match. We've got to make sure we get something out of this series. I know the Ashes aren't coming home, but in terms of the Test Championship, in 2 years at the end of the cycle, those points could be crucial. And you never want to lose an Ashes series. Every game against Australia really matters. So picking ourselves up and turning up at the Oval and putting in a really strong performance to win a game is crucial for this group.
After the miracle of heading league, did you feel you were on course for the possibility of it happening again?
As I say, the character of this group, we always feel like we got a chance as long as there's two guys out there, and that was certainly the feeling in the dressing room. I thought the guys fought extremely bravely, really dug in, made it very difficult for Australia, put a real strong price on a wicket, and that almost makes it a little bit harder to take, but at the same time, couldn't be more proud of how hard we fought today.
Rory? Joe, after losing in Australia, is it easy or hard? Can you compare the two feelings to losing on home soil?
No, I mean it's still very raw, and as I say, we've still got stuff to play for in this series, so we've got to make sure that's the full focus over the course of the next 10 days, and make sure that we really approach that game with everything. We give everything, one last push for what's been a big summer for us, and come away with a win.
When you look around the dressing room, do you see a bunch of guys who are ready to turn it around again in just a couple of days and go and fight again? Or
well, you look at a performance like that today and the way we went about that, I think that says a lot about where we're at as a side. We've made mistakes throughout this game, but over the course of the last two games, we've shown a huge amount of resilience, fight, and that we constant believe that we can get something out of situations which you wouldn't expect. So from that respect, I think that's a strong message, and that we'll put in another real hard shift and take as much as we can from that game in the Oval.
Lawrence, Dean, and then Barrett.
Joe spoke about the fight you put in today. Where do you think the game was lost?
I thought it was a brilliant Test match. I think that needs to be said. I thought it was a good wicket, and it was an important toss to win. But having got them in a position we did early on, I think it was important to make most of that. And credit to Australia, it was an important partnership for them. We probably weren't as good as we would have liked to be, and we were probably a little bit patchy in terms of how consistent we were throughout the whole game. But bowling at someone like Steve Smith in the form that he's in, it can be very difficult, and you've got to make sure you take every chance that comes your way. And we didn't do that, so that's probably what's cost us.
Joe, as happy as you are with the character that your side has shown here and in other games, how frustrating is it that you keep having to show that character because you're chasing games and you're kind of hanging on by your fingernails? Yeah,
it's frustrating. In many ways, we're an inexperienced team, and we've got to learn very quickly. I mean, that can't keep happening. You're not going to win many games if you start behind. So, still plenty to learn for this group, and we have to take that on very quickly and turn it around at the Oval.
Barrett?
Just following up on that, do you very much feel like you're the guy to turn things around and to
get the side moving forward in the way that you want them to?
Definitely, yeah.
Barrett on the other side, yeah. Go ahead.
Julian, English and Australian captains are judged on whether they win the Ashes or not. Now that the Ashes are gone and a series where you've been up and down with the bat, is there a time you just sit down and think about where your captaincy is going, or does that come after the series is over?
I'm not sure where you're leading with that question.
No, I'm just asking, are you enjoying captaincy as much as you were, say, when you got it, and moving forward, how you cope with it?
Yeah, I mean, whenever you lose a series, it obviously hurts. You have to take that on the chin. You have to look at areas you want to get better at, both from yourself and as a team. And most importantly, I've got to look at next week. That's my full focus. We've got an important test match against Australia. Every game against Australia counts. As far as we're concerned as a team, we've got to make sure we finish this summer strong. And as I say, we've got the Test Championship to play for. We've got to make sure that we don't lose this Ashes series. So it's vitally important that we turn up and we win that game.
Will?
Were you slightly surprised to see Ben Stokes walk off today? Or is that just the way he likes to play the game?
So
Is that just the way he likes to play the game?
If Ben thinks he's out, he'll walk off. It's pretty obvious these days that if you've hit it and it goes through to the keeper, it'll come up on a review anyway. I'm not surprised at all.
David?
So do you think your World Cup excursions are maybe a reason to not regain the Ashes this year?
No, I think that's an excuse. I think that you turn up to an Ashes series, you put everything you can into it, and you leave everything out on the field. And I think everyone's done that, and we've not at times not been at our absolute best. We've played against a very good side that's performed well in these conditions. And you look at a couple of the Test matches, and there's been one guy that's probably been the difference, and that's probably what's cost us the earn this time round.
Chris, and then we'll do Dan and Rob.
Joe, you mentioned every game counts, and where we are at the moment, Australia still need to avoid defeat in that last game to win an away Ashes series the first time in almost 20 years. How much of a motivation is that for you guys to kind of stop them claiming that history?
We're playing against Australia. That's a motivation in itself. Every Ashes Test match counts. Doesn't matter whether you're at home or away. With the series, it's all to play for. It's gone. It matters. It matters to that group of players downstairs. It matters to me. It matters to everyone involved. So it's a big game.
Draw the series and obviously on the back of the World Cup, would you see that as a successful summer?
I'll think about that at the end of the series. As I say, we've got to focus on making sure that we get ourselves in a position to win that game first.
Down at the front here, and then Rob.
Joe, this is your third Ashes series at home against Australia. Compared to the last two series, was this Australian side more attuned to the conditions and what you faced as a batsman, and I suppose what they did with the bat as well?
Three very different teams, I think, in probably three very different conditions as well. It's always hard to compare, but they've obviously been very disciplined with the ball. They've had someone in Steve Smith who scored a huge amount of runs, and that obviously makes it very difficult. So you have to give credit to Australia. I thought they played brilliantly. I think we've seen some wonderful Test match cricket over the course of these 4 games, and I expect the last Test to be just the same.
Rob, and then we'll finish with Ali.
There's been so much focus on Steve, but what about Pat Cummins? What do you think he's done particularly well throughout the series, and I suppose particularly that last innings to pick up a couple of really big wickets?
He's bowled good areas. He's asked good questions for long periods of time, and in many ways that's a good lesson for us as a side. If you put the ball in good areas for long periods of time, it's hard work. But I think it has been a series dominated by the ball. You look at both batting sides who've got some very experienced world-class players that have not performed how they probably would have liked. And I think that tells a story in itself. You take Steve Smith out of that, it's very, very similar on both teams.
Joe, do you anticipate any big changes before you over? It could be seen as an opportunity to plug players or look at new players, or how are you thinking?
I need to just get my head around what's just happened first, and then we'll have those discussions, I'm sure, either tonight or tomorrow, and make sure we're very clear on what we want the squad to look like going into that game.
Can I just ask, you said you didn't want to use it as an excuse, but nevertheless, the sort of 4-year focus on the World Cup that's been, and now that's been in the past, do you think in any way that has sort of hampered your captaincy or the way you've been able to shape this team because of the players coming through and the sort of the white ball game?
We're in the position that we are, and we have to make the most of that. We've been given opportunities. I've been given a fantastic opportunity to captain the Test side, and I'll continue to keep working very hard at doing the best in that. As far as that goes, I will. There's only that's in my control, and I'll have to keep making sure I do everything I can to get this team in the best shape it can be to win as many games as possible.